This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Hello, welcome to the studio. So I've been working on my studio and I thought it would be fun to kind of give you guys a tour and show you the parts of the studio that I don't normally show on camera. So let's do it. So the space is 20 square meters. There is another room that I have for the studio space. That's the kiln room and the glazing room. And I do have a whole separate video on that, so I'm not gonna share that in this video, but I wanted to show you this main space because I just remade it and it's a lot cozier now. So I moved to the space in 2022 and it was completely unfinished. Maybe I can find some old clips from back then, but there was no floor. There was some terrible wallpaper on the walls. I needed to paint the ceiling. It was just a completely undone. It was a very unfinished basement. But I saw that it had great bones because it has some great windows. Despite being in a basement, we get pretty good light in here and heating, which is essential. I'm just gonna take you around, I think. So as soon as you come in, the door's right here. We have this bank of shelves, and this is where it gets a little chaotic sometimes. It's obviously very nice and tidied up for you guys today, but it's a struggle to keep this under control and to keep the shelves from overflowing. Theoretically, my rule is that theoretically it should just be like work in progress. All the finished work should go over to the shelves in the kiln room. Yeah, I've got all my wear boards stored here, my books, and then theoretically it's all work in progress. And then back here's some bits of more storage. So I try and keep the ugliest parts out of the camera angle so they're all in this last bank. This is my reclaimed storage here. My new rule for myself, because if you saw the video where I made all those planters because I had an ungodly amount of reclaim, the reclaim was taking over like one of these whole banks here. My new rule, I have two types of reclaim that fire at different clay temperatures. As soon as this fills up, I'm going to make a bunch of pots using that reclaim up. This lower fire reclaim is getting pretty full. We've got 3 more rounds of reclaim coming up. So let me know what I should make with that. And then I've got 1240 reclaim. And then here's all the reclaim that's going to dry out. I'm not gonna explain the whole reclaiming process, but it becomes a lot easier if you actually dry out your clay completely before you rehydrate it. So that's why I've got some like nice wide open vessels to hold the reclaim, and I just divide it so by temperature. So this is the 1240, this is the 1200 reclaim. And then all the way down here, I've got my fresh clay. And I try and keep it to one shelf, although I don't use that many different types of clay. Down here at the bottom, I've got pretty much everything on wheels. Wheels are life when it comes to big buckets. These are my 2 reclaim bins. As I said, I have 2 different temperatures of reclaim. Little area is empty because I'll usually, when I don't need my wheel, I'll push it up underneath so it's out of the way. And then this here is my 2 bucket system for getting rid of the nasty stuff. So what I mean by that is mop water. It's the stuff at the bottom of my cleaning bucket. It's just like sludge basically that you can't reclaim. So what I do is I pour it all into one. So this is the wet stuff, and then it settles overnight, pour off the top, settles overnight, pour off the top. And then once that gets filled with sludge, I switch buckets. And then this bucket is like the wet sludge bucket, and I'm just letting this dry out. By the time that this is full of sludge, this is fully dried out. So I just swap back and forth like that. It's the grossest part of the studio, but it's essential. And then another thing that's essential is my dehydrator. I need my dehydrator in the space. If you're working in a basement, especially, you know what I'm talking about. It just keeps the atmosphere a lot better in here and helps things dry faster. I got this light recently. I'm so happy with it. I wanted something nice for behind the wheel, and I try as hard as I can to like make the best videos possible, and that means to have a nice space to shoot in. So there's 2 really main angles that I have in the studio. It's the Handbuilding space to the back wall and my wheel throwing space. So I've been thinking a lot about how to make this background a lot nicer, and I added some beautiful art that I actually just snatched from upstairs. But I thought it was really nice, added some nice color, and it's, you know, a little tribute to my American heritage. And this light. I love this light. This shot is going to be horribly backlit, but It is what it is. This is why you never see this part. So coming over here, this is the end of the shelves. I've got a mirror and a broom, and this is my monster light that I recently got. This thing is a monster and it doesn't always need to be here and it's kind of in the way, but my old tripod broke, and this tripod is, I accidentally bought like the most epic tripod on the market apparently, and it's so heavy. So he just lives here now. Normally I use natural light, but sometimes it's not possible. It's Germany, it's very cloudy, so I do need some artificial light sometimes. I try for the natural light mostly because I'm not super good at getting the artificial light to look natural. It sometimes looks a bit like there's a flashlight shining on me. It is what it is. If you can see outside my window, you can see that we're in a basement basically. There's like this slope that lets the light in, and it's full of green all the time, which is really nice. In the summertime it flowers. It's actually really beautiful, but I do need to cut it back pretty regularly because otherwise the green starts to like grow up onto the windows and cut off my light. Considering it's a basement, I'm so happy to have this. And yeah, as I said, the heater was already here. I didn't have to faff with that. That was awesome. Back here, this is like my storage for like all of the ugly stuff that I don't want you to see. So it's like papers, to-do lists. There's my little white balance card. And you know, my water, my tissues. It always looks like this. It's always a little cluttered, but I mean, I try and keep it under control and it's fine. Let's take a little break to talk about today's sponsor, Squarespace. If you've never heard about Squarespace before, they are an all-in-one platform that artists and entrepreneurs use to stand out online. I've personally been using Squarespace ever since I started my online business, and I'm still using them for my website today. There are a few things that I love about Squarespace, one of which is their memberships, which I use to host our very own template club that you can use to create community, host courses, and other premium content. Two, they just launched a really cool AI feature called Design Intelligence that empowers anyone to build a beautiful bespoke website tailored to your unique needs. And three, once you have that online store set up, you now have access to Squarespace Payments, which is super easy to set up and gives your customers more ways to pay with popular payment methods like Klarna, Direct Debit, Apple Pay, Afterpay, and ClearPay. So if you're ready to take selling your pottery to the next level, or you're just looking for an online home for your art, I really recommend Squarespace because they make creating a beautiful website super easy. So head to squarespace.com right now for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/pottery to the people for 10% off your very first website or domain. Let's get back to the video. So this is the angle that you probably know the best, my big table. So my rule for this table is really to try and keep it as clear as possible at all times. What I often do is I'll leave the studio a mess and then I'll come back in the morning to clean everything. And that actually kind of gets me into the mode of making. So I'm not one of those people who cleans up everything before leaving the studio. I'm not that disciplined. And I actually don't mind cleaning first thing in the morning. So I try and always reset it to this. Obviously I've got some reclaim going right now, but that's fine. Oh, the new things is that I added this lovely little curtain here. Maybe I'll show you from the other angle what's underneath, but I've got loads of great supplies down here. And what I like about the curtain is that you can't see the ugly stuff from this angle, which is important, I guess, for filming, or at least I wanted to make it a little nicer, but you can always lift up the curtain and grab stuff. So I store stuff under here that I want accessible from both sides, because I find it very annoying to constantly walk around this table. Down under my table, I've got a bunch of really handy things. So this is a box full of plastic. You gotta have it if you're a potter, but it is ugly, so we hide it away. Box full of, these are my towels and my cloths that I use to slow dry, so textiles. This is my cleaning bucket that I refresh my cleaning bucket about, oh, that sun is horrible. I look like a ghost. I refresh my cleaning bucket about once a week, depending on how nasty it gets. And you saw the process for that earlier. And then I've got 2 reclaim buckets. I added these because I was getting annoyed with constantly walking from here over to there. So what's really nice is I can, when I'm done making something with this reclaim of clay, I can just get all of the dried bits in here. And then I've got my little stool here because I can't reach that camera clamp tripod thing without standing on the stool because I'm short. This is how I get all of the overhead shots. This is not new. I've had this for about a year. And all it is a curtain rod with a clamp on it, like a camera clamp with a quick release. So I had to buy the curtain rod, the camera clamp, and the quick release. It's like a specific type of clamp that clamps to cylindrical things like poles and stuff. I can't tell you how long it took me to figure this out, but it's pretty good, and mounting it on a curtain rod is 1,000 times cheaper than getting like a proper rig set up in here. I thought, why can't it be curtain rod? I'll just give it a try, and the curtain rod's what, like 15 bucks? I'll give it a try, and if it doesn't work, then I'll buy the expensive rig. And it works. I mean, it's a little wobbly, but once the camera's set in there, it doesn't move. So yeah, there's my little hack for you. And then the latest thing that I really hope has made a difference is I added some noise dampening foam right above here. So this is the area where I'm normally talking. And I've been struggling for years to get good audio in this space. The issue with the studio is you can't put any rugs on the floor. You can't put that much fabric around because you're not gonna put an upholstered chair in here. It's very echoey, and I've been really battling with that. So this fabric down here and this fabric over here, which I'll show you in a second, that's more sound dampening stuff I'm trying out, and hopefully I think it's getting better. The last video that I posted, the Kate Schrader video of the fireplace, that was a lot better sound-wise, I think. I'm not an expert. I'm absolutely not an expert, but I think I'm getting better at it. Okay, and then over here is where I store the majority of like my tools and stuff. One new thing is I added this lovely little lamp here. Again, just to make the studio space a little bit more interesting for y'all watching. If you haven't seen this video, I have a water tank here because I don't have any running water down here. That's the one downside. So I'll fill up buckets from upstairs and fill this guy up with water. It's obviously not potable water. Don't be drinking it. Like, it does, theoretically it gets nasty, but it feels pretty clean. I also have a hose outside, so in summer times I'll just bring the hose down through the window and fill it up that way. It's really, really handy. I'm super glad to have this. It was very annoying to walk upstairs every single time I needed water. Another thing that I added was all of my templates up here. These are all the template samples that I made for the videos for my slab pottery templates. I really wanted a place to display them all, so I kind of made this space up here. I think they look really good. That's better right now, you can see. Definitely gotta have your table on wheels. I've got just loads unlisted storage back here. Maybe I'll just show you what's in them and not narrate it all because it's a lot and it's also very disorganized. This is something that is definitely on my to-do list to do in the near future, is implement some organization to these drawers, because basically what I do when I'm looking for something is I'm like, oh, not here. Oh, not here. Oh, not here. And I just like go down looking. But what is organized is this thing back here. So this is my recycling, trash, and then I have my wedging boards back here and some larger bats. That's really handy. And it's all stored behind this nice little fabric. Probably the most interesting and unusual drawers that I have here is this drawer. This is my technology drawer, my charging drawer. I've got my battery chargers. I can charge my microphones in here. I've got little bits and bobs that I use for filming. It's basically my filming drawer. And when I'm not lazy, I'll actually put my cameras in there too. So I like to keep them in a drawer so they don't get dusty. And when I can be bothered to put stuff away, I do. But I love, love, love having a fixed charging station. That is essential, honestly. Okay, and then back here, I'm not sure if you can see this in the light so well, but I did repaint the whole studio. I had a very eclectic mixture of different colors going on in the studio, and I just got kind of tired of them. It was all too bold. Like, I wanted to focus on the pottery and not on the craziness of my studio. So I painted back here, and I wanted to add a little bit of texture. So I thought it would be fun to add these little panel-y bits. So I've got just like a very simple kind of grid panel thing back here that I thought, I don't know, just add a little bit of interest to this back wall. I've got my extruder over here. I've always had the extruder here, but what I added was this sealed plywood backing because the extruder is very dirty, especially like the parts that, you know, this part, and it was just leaving all sorts of clay marks on the wall. So I wanted to just have something that I could wipe easily and, you know, keep it from looking like a mess. And then here is the third part of my sound dampening strategy, which is this guy. So this guy serves two purposes. It is for sound dampening, but it's also for photo backdrops. So what I can do is I can open this guy up, and then I have like a white or nearly white background for taking photos. This is a 2-track system. So what I plan to do is also add a black or like a very dark curtain as well that I can do for like darker photos, like depending on the project, right? If you wanted to have a black background or a white background, because usually since the light comes from here, like the window is right here, I take photos in this direction. And before I had, you know, pictures and all sorts of stuff on the wall, and I was ending up having to like spend some time in Photoshop editing all that out. So it's time to have a proper backdrop. And I think this is nice. I'm not 100% convinced of the canvas because it is so thick, but I was really struggling to find fabric that was affordable. Fabric is so expensive. So what I ended up doing is I bought this canvas at the art store at Bözna, and this huge thing, I mean, I only ended up using half of it, I think. But it was $80 for like a huge thing of canvas. And it doesn't reach all the way to the ground, but that's fine. It functions for what it is, but I'm just not sure. I might change it up. Yeah. Oh, and then this guy, can you see it in there? This guy that you probably see in the background of all photos. I've gotten asked about this guy in the past. This is just my little basket that I used to take stuff upstairs and downstairs. So I just leave it by the door. Then I don't have to like juggle, you know, the SD card and the, you know, random crap like glass of water or whatever. Just leave it there. If it needs to go upstairs, I put it in the basket. But my partner makes fun of me, says it's like a little Red Riding Hood basket. I think it's cute. So that's the studio. I hope that the lighting didn't screw up all of that footage and you guys got to see the studio pretty well. I love it here. As I said, I spent way too much time over the holidays painting and the repainting and the repainting. I had such a headache with paint colors because I was trying to not buy paint, so I was combining paint colors that I had already, and then I would paint one coat and then do the edging, and then the edging wouldn't match the part that I had painted already. It was a nightmare. So I ended up just buying paint, which was the best decision in the end, honestly. I really like how it looks. I think it's kind of like, it almost looks like clay. That was my inspiration for the wall color, at least. I hope that this was interesting for you. And I'll get back to making project videos in the next video. I've got a really good one coming up next. So I'll see you guys then. Bye, friends.